Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Magic Through Wrestling. I will be your moderator, Bill Demotts.
But what are you doing, Bill?
I'm doing the open.
Listen, just because Frank's not here, that's not a good open.
It's better than, hey, let's go for $29 Wonder Works Chicken Get Pizza.
You didn't say ladies and gentlemen, at least. That
We
was
don't
good.
say ladies and gentlemen.
We don't say
I
ladies
did it
and
right. I said, hello. It was very, I felt like it was very formal. Hello.
I wish I had a fireplace here at the manor for you just to be able to sit in
I
front.
feel like
I
if I had a cognac and a cigar, it'd be like what's that theater show where the guy just sits back and, hello everyone. As a matter of fact, that's the worst voice I've ever heard. Thank you for stopping me. It's still better than, hey, let's go. Magic Through Wrestling. We love everyone.
So for everybody wondering tonight, Jimmy will not be joining us. He pulled off the greatest magic trick of all time.
Yeah, he no-showed.
He no-showed. Yeah, he vanished from Magic Through Wrestling.
Hashtag no-show. Well, we might have something to do with that because when this will air on Friday, and Jimmy thinks we're supposed to be taping on Wednesday.
This is Wednesday.
Oh, well, let's say we're going to tape on Thursday, and then we won't show up.
Yeah, that's right.
But then on Friday, we'll have a show.
Yeah, we'll tell him we didn't record.
Yeah.
We'll tell him it's back on for tomorrow, and then he could show up.
This will see if he really has a membership to the podcast or not.
Yeah.
So you're saying that opening voice was no bueno?
It wasn't
Yeah,
the
that
best.
sucked a little bit, right?
But his was too fast. Yours was a little too slow.
Mine was like a Britt Baker promo.
Yeah, but you didn't have.
And don't forget, I'm a dentist.
But then you didn't have Tony Schiavone mouthing "What the f?"
Yeah,
on the other side
After all, he's
On
come
a
a long
boat.
way from being a barista.
at Starbucks.
That's 2 weeks ago, and I still can't forget that.
I know.
That was the worst ever.
How do you react whenever you just see like scathingly bad promos these days? Because AEW got to give some lenience to because they don't have like a farm system.
It takes a lot, but it takes a lot to get, one of the things that's been said, and a lot of people have talked about it throughout the years, a lot of famous actors and people who, in TV, film, and all that stuff, even Broadway, they've said, and comedians up and down the line, anybody in entertainment, the thing that people fear most is speaking publicly, and so it's very hard. I don't care how good you are behind the scenes. It's very hard to do that in front of people.
Yeah.
So, and I know a lot of the debates are whether it's scripted or not scripted or things like that. Scripted or not, you have to remember it. And much like a play, if you're an actor, you have to remember your lines. And then when you're doing it like we're doing here in the mansion, it's just us.
Yeah.
But if we were doing it in front of 40,000 people, somebody's going to screw the pooch somewhere and say something wrong or forget to talk or have the Cindy Brady moment with the red light.
Or lock eyes with somebody who's not giving them the best look.
I always say hats off to everybody
Same, yeah.
that goes and gives it a shot. And at the same time, you have 6 days more of every week to hone your craft.
Yeah.
And the greatest example I could ever think of is, without a doubt, probably one of the best personalities ever in wrestling was Brad Armstrong, behind the scenes. And it was always said that when Brad came out, Brad had a good promo. He spoke well. He had fire. But there was just that thing missing. But behind the scenes, he was electric.
Wow.
And he made everybody else better. He made everybody else electric. So there's guys who have it, and then it's just certain times. But I was poking fun at Britt Baker because I feel like she's had some opportunities, and maybe somebody should tell her, hey, just work a little bit. Work a little bit more at it. Kathmandu just blew by me.
Yeah, so we have like 12 cats running around the house right now. They're all losing their mind because Florida's decided to get slightly cooler than normal. So they just don't know how to handle it.
Does cool weather make cats goofy?
These cats for sure, man. They lose their mind.
This is ridiculous. Man, give me 2 more months of this.
Yeah, I know. I wish it would get colder. Like, if we got into the 40s, high 30s, I'm good.
Anytime I go to church, usually at church I have my towel when, we're walking around.
Yeah, you're always walking around with it.
A no towel, just
the breeze.
Just the breeze coming in, everything's good.
Love it.
But yeah, promos are tough, so
Was there anybody, and I know there's a lot of people, but was there anybody whenever you were training that, they come in and they're just the worst at promos, and then through your training, through, obviously Dusty Rhodes promos and stuff, like he had a class there for a while, they just like got it instantly, and you're like, wow, where was that?
I think if you can speak, you can speak. Like what seems like Kathmandu, what seems like forever ago, and it's probably 20 years now, The Miz, you knew the guy could talk.
Yeah.
MVP, and I use this example to this day, and it happened, I don't know, in 90. No, oh, jeez, it couldn't happen in 90. He wasn't even born yet. 2004, maybe 2005.
That's whenever MVP was like big.
We were in Deep South. Well, we were still in developmental.
Oh, then maybe he was big. He was big in 07. Or
So,
he was
okay,
up
yeah.
there, yeah.
So maybe it was like 04, 05. He did a promo about a can of soup.
Wow.
And everybody sat there and watched. I said, this guy is gold. He took a can of soup and turned it into a story, and he can talk. And you just know the guys that can talk, and you see the ones that kind of struggle with it. And then you see some that have gotten better. But Big E's a talker.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer. It's natural. Xavier Woods, they're naturals. There's some guys that are just naturals, and then there's other guys who aren't. I don't think Bret Hart was a great talker.
Really?
I thought what he said, but it was always the same. It was always
Interesting.
and that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I thought guys who could go up and down and tear it all over the place and really be a good storyteller with their mouth, and then be a storyteller with their body were always the good ones. I think Charlotte's doing an amazing job. I think she's getting better. Becky, I think, is doing an amazing job. There's all through wrestling, I think there's a lot of good people, but then you see the ones that have an opportunity, and I think I'm much like a lot of other people go, come on, you should be better than that,
Yeah. I like, I never, as a fan, really took Lesnar serious as a talker, but he's got Heyman, and it's just such a perfect match. I wish there were more people that had mouthpieces who can't do it on their own.
Yeah, because let's be honest, if Vaughn and I are walking through the Florida Mall, and I'm talking to everybody and then try to be a tough guy, they go, well, I just heard you talking to them kids over there. Like, you're human. So the mystique is Brock doesn't say a lot.
Yeah.
So what he says is meaningful, and he's got the best mouthpiece in the world.
My buddy back in Pittsburgh, he's a police officer, and he does like a lot of he takes off like a lot of off work assignments to get extra money. And one day his job was to do security for Lesnar, who's doing a meet and greet. He was his personal bodyguard. Because my buddy is jacked to the gills, right? And it was so funny because afterwards I'm like, was he cool? What would he say? What would he do? And he's just basically like, Lesnar just said, make sure you have my back tonight if anything goes wrong. And he's like, I don't think he said another word to me the rest of the night.
That's the deal. Because he doesn't get paid by the word, right?
He doesn't.
Thank goodness.
So you had it. So speaking of Lesnar, there's been a lot of talk about Lesnar and the Royal Rumble. Did you watch the Rumble this week?
Yes, I watched. Much to my dismay, I got overruled in my house. I got overruled 3-1.
Wow!
Like my daughter,
can't.
Everybody. They're like, we're watching the Rumble. I'm like,
that is one of the big shows of the year. Everybody's got to watch.
Yeah, but I feel like that's it's like somebody who's not a basketball fan and then watches during the playoffs. You didn't watch all year. Why do you care now? So now we're the road to WrestleMania. Oh, we got to start watching. It's that.
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. But
how do you feel
I watched it. Yeah.
Before we go into the Royal Rumble, how do you feel about the Royal Rumble concept match? Because I hear a lot of like wrestlers on podcasts, former wrestlers and stuff, and they think it's like the worst concept match. I think it's really cool. I love the idea, but I guess there's a lot of holes in it. Like if I'm coming out, who says I have to immediately get in the ring? Why don't I just wait out everybody else? Or why don't I scoot out underneath the ring and wait out everybody?
Well, because you'd have 29 other guys doing the same thing.
That's why they have some beef with it. It's like a flawed concept, but what isn't?
I think if you go back through the initial Royal Rumble until now, you'll see multiple guys doing the Shawn Michaels thing where he over the top rope and his feet never.
That's one of the popular things every year.
But then everybody was doing it. So when you got Shawn Michaels doing it and Kurt Hennig doing it, and this one doing it, and this one doing it, this one doing it. Now it becomes played out. Then it became Kofi pulling out these amazing stunts, and now everybody's doing it, and thank goodness nobody can do it like Kofi or like Naomi.
Yeah.
So I think as it followed, like they got less creative, and it's nothing's creative about I'll show you, like legitimately shoot in their minds going I'll show you. I won't get in there at all, and I'll still be one of the longest running guys. And now the running joke is who can be thrown out the quickest.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody did that. I forget who it is, but
Funaki I think still has the record
for quickest in, quickest out.
Funaki or Santino, but one of them I think they had to give him literally 2 seconds because they couldn't count that slow.
Wow, that's amazing.
But
yeah, I think you're right. I forget what happened, but yeah, I do remember.
I wanted to get in there. I only have one Rumble under my belt, and
in WWE or just in, so you were in Battle Royals in WCW.
Yeah.
How was
I did the 90 mans and the World War IIIs and all that, but I only have one Royal Rumble under my belt.
How did that? Because like I've been in indie rumbles, where it's like you go in and then some guy comes up, chops the hell out of you for 20 minutes, and then he says get out, and then he throws you out. But I mean, how was it? Compared?
I was hell bent on, like, I forget what number I was or whatever the case was, and just for 20 minutes I was like, and I remember Shane McMahon was in gorilla position and kept looking at me going, with the mind going, Jesus Christmas, who's got this guy all wired up? And boom, there comes my, and there I go, and I'm like a freight train, and I just started manhandling people and squisher.
That's awesome.
I was killing Jericho and Edge, and all these cats were going down, and all of a sudden, and two other guys come out, and all of a sudden I got a kendo stick to the side of my face, and I was getting the beat shit out of me, and.
Was it in WWE? I know it's so much more structured. Did you have like a specific cue on like now I gotta run?
No specific cue. I figured at the time we had a guy, so I knew, and I forget who my guy was. So it could have been Jericho, it could have been Edge, or it could have even been Dreamer. I think at the time, all I knew was it was my guy, and you better get rid of me, correct, not just go. Hey, man, you gotta go. Because Big Willie ain't jumping over the top rope for no reason. What wound up happening is when I went, I had my arm, got caught between the second and third rope, and it twisted. So I went to the floor, and my arm stayed.
Oh, wow.
So I tore all the ligaments in my hand and forearm. So from the Rumble, I went to the emergency room, got doctored up, and then we drove on to the next town to be there for Raw. So I only had one Rumble under my thing, but it was worth it. It was fun.
That's awesome. And then watching this Rumble this year, I know you said you had an interesting take on what you would have done in the Rumble. So obviously seeing Drew McIntyre was awesome. But, a lot of people were like, okay, Brock Lesnar's the champion. Why is he going into the Rumble? Why is he picking to go first? So what is your take on that?
I like to look at things differently than everybody else.
Which you do. I can attest to that.
I really like to think because so many people complain about Lesnar being a part-time champion. And
that's all you hear.
Lesnar schedules this and Lesnar. And much we forget that people who pay him made that schedule for him. But I digress, right? So I thought, how great would it be for Lesnar to eliminate all 29 opponents and then simply decide not to go to WrestleMania? You want to complain about a guy not showing up? You want to complain about my schedule? I came here tonight. I put an ass whooping for 45 minutes on this whole locker room. And guess what? I'm taking Mania off. You want to talk about mayhem?
It would have been a nuclear riot.
It would have been the best.
You have such a heel mentality. I love it.
And so as it's happening, right? Like, there's number 10. There's no, and I forget, it came to where John Morrison came, and boom, out he went.
I was so mad at that. He was in there for a couple seconds. He just gets steamrolled out.
I got jazzed for Shelton Benjamin because as a wrestler, and I've been there, and you hear the guys that have been there, I've been there when they all started. Shelton, Brock, Randy,
Kofi.
John Cena, Kofi. We were already part of the main roster, and all those guys had to come and work with us. So you'd work with Dreamer for 6 months, you'd work with Bob Holly, you'd work with Bill DeMott, you'd work with Billy Gunn, you'd work with these guys on the road. So we get a chance to work with them all and kind of get the rust off and all that stuff. and she got a feel for these guys, and you knew Shelton Benjamin and Brock's story, and Shelton's one of the few guys that can hang with Brock. Was Brock's sparring partner legitimately, and went through college and stuff like that. And Shelton Benjamin is a legitimate machine. He still looks great. He's still one of the best athletes, I think, not only in the company, probably in the world of wrestling.
Wow.
And so when Shelton got there, I'm like, son of a gun. And they built it up so great. They're like, oh, here they go.
They even talked about it.
And they built it up. And I'm like, just give me 4 minutes of them going at it. Was all I want to see. Like, I got goosebumps right now. That's when everything changed for me. I was like, I'm so glad I'm watching the Royal Rumble right now.
That's awesome.
And then, boom, Shelton went over, and I went back to my theory. Okay, 14 more guys to go. So, Audio Vaughn, what do you think of that?
It's not bad.
That's all,
That's always kind of.
Ladies and gentlemen, Audio Vaughn.
Yes. I thought it was
I thought it was a good theory.
Pretty good theory.
Well, anyway, when it didn't happen, I got, you don't know what you're talking about. My 11-year-old told me I don't know what I'm talking about.
You got booed in your own house.
Yeah, my wife booed me. My daughter looked at me and went, that's done. So anyway, thank you.
I actually changed my opinion. I think I would have loved to have just seen that for the explosion.
Are you kidding me? For the next 3 months, all people would be doing is complaining about WrestleMania.
Oh, my gosh. And, I mean, they're already going
and
to,
it would
but
sell
now,
out.
People would come
It would sell. I tried to explain to Lacey. I'm like, no matter what happens tonight, Mania is selling out.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to get turned off from this product tonight. No matter what they do, people are invested. And then you bring back, Edge comes out, a great moment, and all these things, and so people just got invested with it. I don't know. I'm always a big fan of. So me, I look at it as a coach. How many of my players didn't make the cut? Wow, there was a lot. There was a lot of cats on the sidelines,
Yeah, I was surprised. Like, there were so many noticeable names. I'm like, oh, wow, but you can't have everybody, and then you got to add in the NXT guys, which was awesome, but...
I thought Keith Lee, I would have liked to have seen Keith Lee do a little bit more, but I think that it was just a taste of who he can be. Looking size-wise at him, right? When Brock, that's the deal. Brock looks over at him and goes, "Who's this big son gun?"
Yeah.
That's no joke. So
that guy is going to be.
He's the real deal.
Special.
And I'm a fan of. If anybody didn't know, I'm a big fan of big men. So watching him and the way he moves and the stuff he does, I'm like, brother, his future.
It was kind of reminiscent of you, man.
His future's bright, dude.
You were that guy, man.
Yeah.
You were like you were like a Shawn Michaels inside of a Bill DeMott body.
I was Vader's mom met Dr. Wagner's mom, and they had a baby elephant.
You're like an enhanced version, like athletically, of Vader, who's already at the height of athleticism for his size.
Yeah,
I mean, that guy was.
Yeah.
He was always one of my favorites growing up because just seeing somebody that big doing what he was doing, which is why I was so like.
Yeah.
I thought you were so great.
That was the deal. Like, how do you take everything that Buzz Sawyer's doing and put it in Dr. Death's body?
Yeah, it was insane.
And then take all that and be built like Bigelow and Vader, and then how do you do that? And I'm like, okay, let's just try stuff, and it worked out.
That's awesome. The one disappointment I had, which is so funny because I'm not even a fan of him, but Matt Riddle, I thought he was going to come in and do so much more.
Why? Why did Matt Riddle belong in the Royal Rumble?
Well, just because he's a bigger name in NXT. I thought he was going to do more.
Why did Matt Riddle belong in the Rumble before Adam Cole belonged in the Rumble?
Oh, I'm not saying he does. I'm not a fan of
Well,
him.
I'm just saying. I thought, why did Matt?
Yeah, I could see.
How many NXT guys were there? 2? Riddle and Big Man.
Keith Lee.
And then
I think there's one more. But
then you go to the women's side, and it was NXT ridiculously strong.
What? How do you feel? Did you see the Matt Riddle Brock Lesnar thing?
I heard. I'd say I heard it because I heard the guys talking about it on the one podcast, Busted Open. I heard them talking about it.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like, I mean, in a way, you got to build your brand. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Matt Riddle, but I mean,
why does everybody feel like that's the only way to do it?
I know I'm not a proponent of using social media. I think if you're a wrestler, if you're a character, like social media and you shouldn't really be a thing.
And so they let you do it for so long. I feel like so it's a double-edged sword. They let you do it for so long, and then nobody says anything to you. But then when you cross the line, you get paintbrushed, or they tell you, what the hell you think you're doing? Take all that stuff down, blah, blah, blah. But no one said anything to you. So if someone's feeding you the guidelines and telling you go for it, I guess I get it. And I guess that's the thing of not being in the know. So you have to wonder. But I'm just not, the term is going into business for yourself. And
Yeah.
It can hurt you just as much as help you. People go, what a this is ridiculous. I'm sick of, so I unfollow you and
Yeah.
I lose interest in it. And I'm not saying I have. I just don't get the whole. I don't come from it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I haven't adapted to it yet.
I mean, I'm 30. I'm not a social media guy at all. I hate it. I use it mainly for this show, to be honest
I
with
watch
you.
when the guys do stuff. I watch when they talk about their bags getting lost.
Yeah.
Because I still do that, and it's a good way to get the attention of the companies. I just not. Hey, guess what? You're the son of a mother's goat, and I'm going to beat you up, and you smell like elderberries.
Why didn't
That's
anybody
not
step in, though, like whenever it was such a hot topic months ago? I thought that was a WWE thing. I thought they were like, hey, you're like we're going to
Right.
prime you for Brock Lesnar, so you need to like start.
Well, but it was
building
Riddle.
that.
Riddle did the same thing with Goldberg. So
Yeah, I knew the
so it's
Goldberg
Riddle
thing.
just. So I feel like it's Riddle just fishing for.
That
So
I
what's he
didn't
gonna do?
like.
He's gonna do the same thing with McIntyre.
Because I felt like he was getting personal with Goldberg, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why? This guy's a legend. He's not here for the long
Yeah,
haul.
yeah. So
he's here for a spot. Leave him alone.
I don't dig that stuff. So what was the thing that Lesnar said? He goes, just you're going to.
He said, keep my name out of your
I'm
mouth.
the wrong guy. Yeah,
because I'm never going to be in a spot with you.
And
so
there you go.
Shut up.
I mean, just take it for that and don't waste your time. And,
But then after he did an interview and said, I don't care what he says, I'm still going to face him one day. He's not going to be able to deny me.
yeah.
Which kind of put gasoline on the Brock Lesnar fire.
Yeah.
Sorry, that I would never do.
Or it puts more eyes on Riddle and go, okay, if you're that guy, then step up.
Yeah. And that's something I don't think he's really done yet.
I watch his stuff. He's an athlete. He's an athlete. He's confident and all that stuff, and that works. But I think as you see through, and not just Riddle, anybody, but you see through the course of trial and error, some things that worked for you, and you made your money doing it. You have to adapt, and then be allowed to do it again. But you have to adapt first, and if you don't, they just let you do your thing
Yeah.
until no one notices anymore.
Did that ever happen? Like, obviously, social media wasn't a big thing whenever you were wrestling, but did guys use ways of, like, either using you or somebody to, like, try to go into business for themselves, and you're like, you got to put, you call them out in the locker room, you put the brakes on them and say, hey, I don't know what you're doing, but this isn't, I'm not part of this.
Well, they'd go, it would all be in the ring then.
Okay.
So, let's say, we're dancing for 4 months, and all of a sudden we're going to the pay-per-view, and you decide you're pulling out all these bag of tricks, and you're going to do all this stuff, and okay, it's time to go home here, and you got 14 other things you want to keep doing. Well, I either got to run with that, and then pull you aside and go, what are we doing here? Like, if I'm hitting you with my stuff, and you're attempting to kick out on one, what?
Wow.
So either you got to get hit now, right? That kind of thing. And that was the thing. When you went into business for yourself, you realized real quick, I picked the wrong time to go into business for myself. Or, okay, this guy can back it up. Let's see how far you can take it.
Wow.
So I think it was different then. You had to be able to back that up. When you went into business for yourself, you did it. You backed it up, and then you were going around to agents and talking crap about guys, and
Being stiff
you got
on
called
you.
on it. Yeah. People called you on it, or you got away with it.
That's what sucks now is everybody can just run their mouth on
You don't
social
know
media
who's-
and they don't
Yeah.
and there's no consequences, and that's why I thought the thing with Lesnar, like I said, I'm not a Riddle fan, so I don't know why I almost as a fan felt bad for him, but at the same time there's consequences for what you say and what
Yeah.
you tweet, and if you're going to call somebody out whenever they come up to you and call you back out, what are you going to do?
Right. Or the worst thing, they go, yeah, it didn't happen with me. Which is even worse, because now they're going, I don't know who you are, and I don't have time for you.
Yeah, that had to have been,
So
because that's
that's-
a dagger to your ego on top of calling you out and embarrassing
Yeah.
you in front of how many people. So,
Audio Vaughn, would you call out Brock Lesnar?
Hell no.
Hell no.
he's smart. He's really smart.
I wouldn't call him out.
I wouldn't call him out.
I posted, you see that somebody did the poll?
No, what
I
happened?
very rarely post wrestling stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even see. I haven't been on
Somebody
social
made
media.
a post the 5 people you'd least expect to have a win over Brock Lesnar, and I was number 5.
You made the poll. That's
And I made the
awesome.
poll. The top 5 people. I'm looking at this going, what's that supposed to mean?
That's so weird. That
So
you
build
were-
them out. So they gave the stats, and I beat him twice, and something like that. So the top 5 guys were me, Billy Gunn,
I can see Billy
Brian
Kidman.
Kendrick, who I don't even know who the other 2 were. And I'm like,
such a
how
weird-
did I wind up in the people you wouldn't believe could beat him? And even the article said, I felt like kind of put me over a little bit. But I was like, I just got kicked in the nuts here.
That's so weird. It's so weird because like you would be somebody who like I wouldn't bet against anybody. My dad growing up, I don't know if I told this before, but my dad is like the toughest, manliest man. Like I've seen him. Like he's an Italian with a temper, and he's built like steel. He's 52 now, and he's in better shape than most people are. It's crazy. And he's just made of steel, you know? He's a plumber. He's got those crazy forms. I've seen him literally pull people out of a car and just beat the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Like, he's that kind of tough guy you don't mess with, you know? Real old school. And my dad always carried himself as, I'm a tough SOB, you know? And we'd always watch wrestling. And that was the reason why I always liked you, too, because you're one of the few people like you, Haku, and WCW. And, like, but like, say, like, Kevin Nash or somebody come out and my dad would be like, oh, I'd take him, you know, and all this stuff. But you were one of the few people, like, I remember whenever you came out, my dad goes, man, I would not mess with that guy. And that always stuck with me because I'm like, if my dad won't mess with him, who I think is the toughest guy in the world, like, and you were one of few, man. You were one of, like, maybe 3.
Early on, though, I mean, I was in there with guys, and when I came in, Scott Norton was just coming in, Mike Enos was just coming in, but the guys that had been there were like Barbarian and Haku and Ray Trailer, you know, Big Boss Man and guys like that, and One Man Gang and all these guys. I had I drove with them. I actually drove them. They, you know, I was the driver. I was a young kid, but I got to learn from them, and they said, you fight. Whatever the work is, you work, but you fight. He goes, everybody you're in the ring with, you let them know who you are. And so I'd always ask, you know, why would I do that? And why, I wasn't afraid to ask why, because they were dropping the knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, and DiBiase and all these guys were dropping this knowledge. I'm going, well, crap. So I'd sit there and listen to it. And we got to a show one time, and Ray Trailer turned around to me and he said, tonight's your night. You're going to decide. You a fighter or a worker?
Wow.
And I went, oh, crap. So needless to say, I won't say the match we were in. It doesn't matter. We were in a 6-man. It was Barbarian, Boss Man, and myself against 3 guys. And the guy, you know, one of the guys told Barbarian no.
He wasn't going to.
Barb wanted to do something and throw him outside. And the guy said no.
Wow.
Barb looked at me, and I'm in the corner, and Barb picked this guy up, and he never even touched the top rope. He went over the thing to the floor. And Barb looked at me, and I jumped on the floor and started wailing.
Fight.
And then everybody was coming out, and everything was landed strong, and dun 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 dun. And all, you know, you heard someone in the background make a decision because we're not stopping. Blah, 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 blah. Let's work. Okay. Referee says we're going to work. And the referee says it out loud because the people don't know, but he's letting all the boys know at once. Okay, we're going to work. And then everything simmered down.
Wow.
Into the match, into the dance, into the sabada, whatever the finish was. Got back to the locker room. I'm thinking to myself, now I'm all jacked up. I may be the youngest guy in the room, but I was one of the bigger guys in the room, and I'm fighting. They don't know me. I'm fighting everybody. So I got back in the thing, and Ray Trailer goes, he goes, that's what I'm talking about. He goes, can you do that every night? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think so. I'm like, I don't think I can do that every day.
That's amazing.
But that was the lesson you learned, was you had to be the part. And then spending time in Japan and all that stuff, it was hit or be hit, and Scott Norton was that kind of guy, and the Steiners were those kind of guys, and I loved it because you were around, and that's what made Jericho even stronger. That's what made, you know, Guerrero stronger, and all those guys that we'd all dance together. You know, so as long as you had that understanding, and the other guys come in and go, hey, listen, this is live rounds, and this isn't, you know, ballet.
That's awesome because nothing's to me is worse than watching like a performance. Like I want to believe that the guys I'm watching, while they might not have like a personal beef on social media, like they're in it to go after each other's heads to win.
Yeah, if you have a beef on social media and you got me watching you on Twitter and Instagram or whatever else, and you're making these little videos, and I turn on the TV to watch you, and you're giving me the fluff and under peanut butter hour, I'm out. That's when I go, okay, that's not my kind of, like, I'm too old school for that. I can't do that.
Yeah, I that's why I'm not a big social media fan. I don't believe in hiding.
It's a letdown
it.
sometimes because you get this hype and go, okay, maybe this guy's for real. He's mad,
and then sometimes it turns into like this crazy work. Like I have no idea what's going on with Enzo and what's his face.
I'll tell you what.
No, not Big Cass. Tomatonga. Like I would never mess with that guy.
I'll tell you what.
But they're going back and forth so much. It's like, is this a work now? Because you got me confused.
Yeah, I don't know.
How do you feel about that beef?
I don't have a. I'm sure if I wanted to, I can go on social media and start calling people out. Start raising eyebrows and getting people to start talking about me again. Or, oh, well, he's lost his mind. Oh, shit, he's starting to talk. Oh, listen to what he's saying, though. Because I can drop stories that nobody else can drop. And
you got
talk about
more than anybody.
And I'm sure it would draw a lot of attention to myself. What's the end game? What's my end game? So either one has an end game and one doesn't, and one's just had enough, it sounds like. Sounds like Tonga's had enough. All I know is that legitimately nobody in that family would ever want to get that upset.
No,
none of them, because even the nicest, I think Haku's one of the sweetest, kindest men I know. And I've been in the room when it's gone south. And I think it's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. But
did you know he lives in Florida?
Yeah, I know him very well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, somebody who I was talking to the other day, they came up and they were like, Demotts, I know Haku. I almost just bought a car from him.
Yeah,
and apparently he's a manager at a Kia or something like that.
No, what's I forget the dealership. It's a big delership too.
Yeah, I was looking at him like, oh, this isn't like Al's Auto Zone. This is like
the name. Yeah, but he's one of the sweetest guys. But he's also like. That's what's the end game in that thing? That's what I look at.
Yeah. Well, then you gotta look at the riddle thing. What's the end game?
What's the end game? What's your end game? And that's why I look at it differently than other people. But I watched the Rumble. I thought for the most part it was. I think it's too long, dude. I don't know if I thought it was too long as a wrestler. I know it's too long as a fan. That thing started at 7 o'clock and ended at 11.
Yeah.
Too long.
WrestleMania starts at like 5 and it ends at midnight.
WrestleMania could start the day before and I'm not turning it on.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the highlights. I can't do it.
How did you feel about Edge coming back?
I thought it was great. You can't, there's nothing, I don't think there's anything bad you can ever say. But I think we talked about it one other time. What are the other guys saying about it? What are the other guys not doing for them to have to say, wait a minute, we can bring Edge back? Yeah, but we have
Andrade. And...
just give me any name, any name. Give me a name. Wait a minute, Bill Demotts on the roster. What are we bringing Edge back? Well, because Bill Demotts not doing anything for us. Edge is going to blow the roof off the place every time he steps out until he doesn't want to do it again. Then, hopefully by then Demott figures it out. It's on the rest of that locker room to go, why'd they bring MVP back?
That was a crazy. I didn't expect that.
And the reason is not just because he lives in Houston, right? Because Mark Henry lives in Houston. Could have brought Mark Henry back. He could have brought. But why? All these guys are coming back. So I always go. If I'm everybody else, and I'm not, I'm just as big a fan of wrestling as anybody else. But if I'm part of the process on the roster, what am I not doing to garner that attention? It's tough, Hall of Famer, and everything stands on its own. But what was I not doing? Where's Jinder Mahal? Where's where's these other guys that didn't have matches? Where's let's go back to what's his name again? And a guy I think the world of is Zack Ryder. Where's he? Where's Joe Hetning? Where's Bo Dallas? Where are all these guys that you can keep naming?
Yeah.
And you guys think to yourself, what else can I do? Or you just go, well, yeah, I'll take Edge. Edge belongs there. And for anybody who's on the roster said, well, that's Edge's spot, he should have it, then that's why he's there too. Because, you're not willing to. And it's just, again, it's just opinion.
Yeah.
But I thought it was okay. I thought there was a lot of NXT girls. Some made zero response. Very few of them got a response.
Yeah,
if you watch, it was weird. The thing that stood out for me, well, Daniel Bryan and
The Fiend.
The Fiend. Good match for what it was. Strap match. It was a little violence. All this stuff was great. Well, there was a spot where The Fiend no-sold everything and stood there. And then you turn around, and the very next match is Becky Lynch and Asuka. And Becky Lynch is yelling for more, too. So as far as wrestling goes, I just saw that match.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching it from girls. Not that it should be different for girls, but I just saw that match.
Right.
Verbatim, the same thing. So that's where I start looking at it and going,
Was that an agent thing or is that a wrestler thing?
I don't think it's on the agent. I think the agent should know, and sometimes they don't, because as a talent, you don't tell your agent or producer, because then they go, well, I don't suggest that, or we don't have the time for that. Being an agent had a lot of talent, not tell me things and then do it on the fly, and then the agent's getting screwed on the headphones and in the back, and gorilla while the talent's still out there working. But the talent should be watching everybody in front of them. Where's your plan B? What's your plan? Hey, they just did that. This is a big night. Let's do this, or let's cut
Yeah,
that
that
out.
had to have been commonplace back whenever you're wrestling. Is you're watching something, you have this whole thing playing. It's like, oh damn, they just did that. We can't do that now.
If Shawn
But now they
Michaels
do that.
is on the card, do you think a super kick is anywhere in my repertoire that night?
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. If Goldberg is on the card, is there a spear in my repertoire anywhere?
Shouldn't be, or
Shouldn't
jackknife.
So that's the thing. It's on the boys. It's on the people in the in the back. How many stinking super kicks did we see? How many clotheslines? And that's the thing. Now they're ill-effective. So we are truly becoming entertainment, because you can't knock anybody down.
Yeah, I was watching old WCW the other night, and I think it was like 97, 98, and Juventud does a leg drop off the top rope. And my brain now of watching wrestling, I'm like, oh, it's maybe a 1. It was a 3. It ended the match. And I wanted to just stand up and start clapping.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. My favorite move, the leg drop, and it's from the top rope, and it actually won a match.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that won't get you anything.
Yeah, no, it won't get you anything. You get pile drivers. You get DDTs that were banned. DDTs were banned. Now everybody's getting DDT and standing up and going into another false finish. So it's that part of it's passed me up. That's the part that gets me on my heat, because I'm the one in the back speaking up, going, "That's nonsense."
Yeah.
Like I was Ryback's agent,
Oh, wow.
and big fan of Ryan Reeves. I think he's a great kid, great talent. But Goldberg was coming back, and they were chanting Goldberg every time. If you remember, every time Ryback would go out, they were chanting Goldberg.
He did the jackknife thing.
And Vince hated it. Get him away from the Goldberg thing. Vince, he's not stop the jackhammer, stop the spear, stop. So I had to talk to him. Listen, Vince doesn't want the people cheering Goldberg. He goes, but I can't do anything about that. But I said, you're right, but don't do the jackhammer and don't do the spear. And don't react when they're chanting Goldberg. Okay. Goes out that night and does the jackhammer and the spear. Vince took off his headset and threw it at me from across the room and came charging at me. Well, the only thing I could do was take my headset off and stand up, because if he's coming at me, we're going to go face to face.
Right.
We went face to face, and he chewed me out pillar to post.
Did you tell him I told him not to do the thing?
But you have no defense, right? You're supposed to be in charge. So he came to the back. Everybody got on him. Everybody talked. Hey, Ryan, good job. Let's just try not to do this. And I'm thinking, oh, no, I ain't getting down like that. So I walked with him to the back and went, hey, MNF'er, we had a conversation. You just hung me out to dry. I said, that's the last of that. So it's a sticky situation. But I did enjoy watching it. It was just very long.
Speaking of Edge, did I ever tell you how Edge gave me like 5 seconds of fame inadvertently? The Seth Rogen thing. Did I ever talk about that?
22 pizzas.
No. That was something different.
Oh.
So whenever WrestleMania was here, what was it, 2017? Something like that? 16 or 17. It was here, I think it was 17. 17. So me and my buddy went to NXT. Well, we got tickets for NXT, WrestleMania, and Hall of Fame. So we go to NXT, and the usher goes, hey, I got bad news. Your floor seats that you guys pay us money for, they're gone. And I said, what do you mean they're gone? He goes, we had to reconfigure the floor, so these seats don't exist. Go see that lady. And this head usher lady looked like the meanest ass lady you could ever. Like, I was afraid to even go up to her and just say, hey, you guys, this guy told me to go up to you. And I was wearing a Stone Cold vest and a Finn Balor hat. And I went up, and she just started, like, gushing on me. So, of course, she's, like, an older lady. So I start, like, my Mac daddy flirting with her. You know, I'm like, hey, you know. Because I wanted to, I wanted to see what she'd do. And she goes, honey, I'm going to give you guys the best seats in the house. And she put us behind the hard cam, right? Yeah. So it was like where, like, Mick Foley's daughter was there. Right. Like that section, right? I know Dana Warrior was sitting next to us. And I'm thinking, these seats aren't that good at all. And there's nobody, the two seats in front of us are empty. And we're sitting there, and I'm like, this kind of sucks. You know, me and my buddy's telling me where we would have sat. And I'm like, because he's the one, he got the NXT tickets, I got WrestleMania. Right. And I'm thinking, man, I would have taken those in a second. It was right kind of towards the ring, but it was at the end of the aisle, so we could have reached out.
Yeah, you're away from the action big time.
And all of a sudden, Edge comes and sits in front of us. And I have my glasses on, and I'm like, I told him, I'm like, oh my God, it's Edge. He goes, who? I'm like, Edge is sitting right in front of us. So we start freaking out. I'm like, hey, sir, can I have a picture? And he's like, yeah, dude, sure. And he was really cool about it. And then he gets up and leaves after 2 matches. And it was so funny because who is the manager for LOD?
Paul Ellering.
Paul Ellering, right?
Yeah.
Well, he asked us who Edge turns back and he goes, hey, who is Aleister Black? Who is he?
Right.
And I said, oh, he's from the Indies. And I told him his other name, which I forget now. Anyways, long story short, he said something about Paul Ellering, and I said, who? And he goes, dude, you don't know who Paul Ellering is? You shouldn't even be a wrestling fan. I was like, no, I just didn't hear the name. I was trying to explain to him I didn't hear the name he said, but he just cracked on me for like 5 minutes. And I was like, wow, dude, you're going to make me cry. He's like, yeah. He's like, you should go get a body pillow or something to sleep. It was like, he totally killed me, right? And at the end, my buddy's like, you know, Paul Ellering? He said, I didn't hear the name, you idiot. He's like, well, he doesn't know that. I'm like, of course he doesn't know that. That's why he just busted on me for 10 minutes. So he leaves, and all of a sudden, my wife, she starts messaging me. She's like, hey, you're trending. And I'm like, that was probably the Paul Ellering thing got out somehow, I'm like embarrassed. She's no, everybody thinks you're Seth Rogen at NXT. I'm like, you're kidding me. So I look on Twitter, all of a sudden it's Seth Rogen's at NXT, Seth Rogen, NXT. Everybody thought I was Seth Rogen, right? So I'm thinking, and at the end I felt like it was dying down, but of course I'm just sitting there watching the show. And then Drew McIntyre comes and sits in front of us because that was his debut back to WWE. Right. And they just glance at him, he smirks. And there I am with my idiot face in the background. And now it's just a wildfire of Seth Rogen at NXT. So
that's tremendous.
I go to the bathroom, right? In the bathroom, we were on the floor, so the bathroom was like right out around the corner. And I go to the bathroom and I come out, and my buddy comes up, he goes, hey, dude, those people are here for you. There's like 13 guys standing there. And I was like, what, did I like skip the line or something? Like, they like pissed at me? They're going to beat me up? He's like, no, dude, they think you're Seth Rogen, man. You got to they want pictures and snaps and Snapchats and all this stuff. And I'm like, what do I do? He's like, just go get your picture. I'm like, okay. So I go up and I get my picture.
Did you do it?
I did, yeah. So WrestleMania comes, right?
Wait, no. You don't skip that and go WrestleMania comes.
It's good. It gets better, but okay.
Wait a minute. You took pictures with all those people, Seth Rogen, and nobody knew the difference?
Nobody. And I said, guys, I'm actually not Seth Rogen. They thought I was messing with them, right? So they get all these pictures and snaps and be like, hey, could you say this in my voicemail? Can you say this to my girlfriend? All this stuff. We were there till we were there for probably almost an hour after the show of me just doing this. My buddy's like cracking his ass off. And he, and then they were getting pictures with him too because he was like Seth Rogen's buddy. So then we were both hamming it up. I'm like, it's cool to be famous for like 5 seconds. So we go back home and we're looking at all the Twitter stuff. And it's just like going crazy. So the next night is WrestleMania. And I had bought the WrestleMania ticket. So I told my buddy, I said, hey, you got the beer and stuff tonight? Cool. I'm leaving my wallet at home. because I don't want to be responsible for it. If you're going to buy everything, since I got the more expensive tickets, then I'm just leaving it. So the Uber had to drop us off like a mile away because everything was blocked off. And we're walking, and everybody's coming up to me. Oh my God, it's Seth Rogen! It's the guy from last night. You know, some people were like, "It's the Seth Rogen guy," but a lot of people thought it was me. And we had to get our tickets at Will Call. And me and my friend are like, "Dude, I don't know how we're gonna get to Will Call at this point to get our tickets. This is crazy." He's like, "Yeah, dude, at this point we gotta just like we're trying to get to the show. Just tell people you're not Seth Rogen and keep walking." So people were coming up to me getting pictures while we're walking. I'm like, I'm not Seth Rogen, man. I'm just trying to get my tickets. I'm a fan, you know. And I don't even have my ID to show them at this point. So we get our tickets, we get in, and people were just berating me, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, this is brutal. So we end up. I mean, these are two guys scrambling to try to put together money to get a cheeseburger. All of a sudden, we end up with Pitbull's cousins partying with bottles of vodka, just getting completely hammered. And at this point, I am Seth Rogen, right? So I'm going up to everybody, hey, can I get this? I'm Seth Rogen. We go to leave, and there's a rib shack, and my buddy goes, dude, I could use some ribs. And we're like plastered, right? I was like, yeah, me too. So I went up and said, hey, you want a picture of Seth Rogen? Give me some ribs. They're throwing out ribs at us like crazy. It was great. The only thing is we went to get in the Uber to go home. I spilled the ribs all over the Uber car. And I told the guy, I said, hey, I'm sorry, I'm Seth Rogen. And he's like, I don't even know who that is. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't care.
Who it is. My car's a mess.
Yeah. So we didn't know at first. And then we get there, and my buddy goes, hey, I left my phone in the Uber. I'm like, the Uber got ribs all over? That guy's going to kill us. He's a big guy. So he's like, let me log into my Uber app through your phone and see who it was, and then I'll call him on your phone, tell him to bring. So he brings the phone back. And I was like, dude, I don't know what we're going to say to this guy, because if he hasn't seen it yet, whenever he goes to get your phone out of the back, he's going to see ribs everywhere.
Oh, God.
So he comes up, pissed off as ever. At least he looked pissed off. And my buddy starts trying to explain to him. He tosses the phone to him and just storms away. And I'm like, dude, your Uber bill is going to go through the roof for that cleaning.
Uber, we just ate, and we're at WrestleMania NXT. And
partying with Pitbull's cousins, drinking vodka. I mean, it was wild. So WrestleMania's in Tampa this year. I'm hoping to reclaim my Seth Rogen fame to get into,
I don't even know what to say to that.
Isn't that crazy?
That's great. Now, when you came home, do you make Mama call you Seth?
No, she treated me like a normal person. She's like, yeah, you're really
Is it back to jabroni status?
She's like, you should go do the dishes. You're not famous. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just was famous. She's like, that
I'm
ends
Seth.
now.
So now you're doing the dishes, talking to. I'm doing no. I'm Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I'm Seth Rogen.
Have you ever seen Superbad? That was me tonight.
That's I always say. You know who I was in 1988? People go 1988. I'm like, yeah, World War II.
That's awesome.
I was Seth Rogen.
I know. I think I asked you this last week. Did you ever have that where you're just trying to relax or chill out in public and people just are all over you?
Yeah. And thank goodness.
Has it died down at all?
I'm glad it's died down, and at the same time, I'm glad people still. But there's nothing better, and anybody who says they don't appreciate it probably just didn't appreciate what they did. I'm sure it's the same for Andy Griffith as it is for Bill DeMott. Somebody recognizes you for what you did, or you gave them a memory, good, bad, or indifferent, where they laughed at you or thought you were a fart in church, or you entertained them or something. For someone to come up and ask for an autograph or take a picture, just say, hey, I was a big fan, that's the biggest compliment ever. Like, somebody come up and go, I'm going to give you this house. Wow, that's amazing. What for? Well, just because I got to give a house away. But someone comes up to you and goes, man, thank you for doing that. Or, my biggest running joke is people say, hey, remember that match? And I would say, no, I don't remember the match because I truly don't.
We do that every time we talk.
Yeah, but when people do that, it's great. And while it can be intrusive at times, and sometimes it truly is, at the height of it, sometimes it was really.
Like the guy stalking your house?
Yeah. Sometimes it was really too much. But thank goodness, man. I mean, hey, aren't you Bill DeMott? Didn't you work for FedEx for, 60 years? You never hear that.
No, yeah,
right? Your mailman, you never see your mailman and they go, brother, haven't you been my mailman for the past 20 years, man? You never get that.
Never happens.
So it's so much more of a blessing than a curse. It's always find it funny in church. People
Yeah, I imagine you get that a
people
lot.
come, and they come out and they whisper to you and they go, "Good morning," and I'll say, "Good morning," and do my thing, and they go, "I know who you are," and I go, "I'm so sorry," because sometimes you don't know what that means, right? Because if you Google me, you can get 2 cents of bills.
Of course.
Right? So I know who you are, and I'm like, "Well, thank you so much."
Yeah, I mean, there's like a really. I see him. He came to your Carrie and Demont Foundation event. He's a tall guy with dreadlocks.
Big Chris Martin, yeah.
Was he a wrestler or something?
No, Big Chris is. So I'm gonna give you.
He seems like a really cool guy. By
Yeah,
the way.
and so here's a plug I wanted to put out. Thank you for reminding me. So that's Big Chris Martin. Big Chris played here as a product of UCF. Went to play for the Bills and I think the Dolphins. Great football player, great guy. Him and his wife Christine. A few years ago, tragedy. Their two-year-old son Gunnar had drowned
You said, wow.
in the backyard. Just got out of eyesight for a minute, and then tragedy.
Wow.
And just devastating. But as they go through the journey, and they have 2 beautiful girls and stuff, and so they have a foundation now, the Gunnar Martin Foundation, and they want to educate people on swimming and water safety and things like that. So that's one of the things
Wow.
our foundation is going to back.
That's
and
awesome.
help them educate people and stuff like that. So for people who are listening to this, and if you want to get behind something like that, like water safety, I know they do camps and stuff where they get kids free swimming lessons and they get parents swimming lessons, and
That's
just
huge. That's
education.
expensive.
Yeah.
Swimming lessons.
So that was Big Chris, and he came to the. We become very close. Both of us similar, journeys with our kids and stuff like that, and both trying to turn something into something more meaningful. But yeah, Chris was at the dinner, and all he wants to do now is train for the 5K. He's like, "I'm gonna run that 5K. You and me are gonna run it." I'm like, "Brother, you go tackle that bridge. I'll be on the other side of it when you're done."
That's awesome. Yeah, he seems like a really cool dude. I tried to say hi to him at the event, but I was also the camera guy, so it's hard to stop doing what I'm doing.
Super good guy.
So it's the Gunnar
Martin
Foundation.
Yeah.
So check that out, everybody. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to look into that too myself and throw him
Yeah,
a like
you
and
can.
everything.
We're gonna have that his stuff on our website so people can get.
And
It's
we
all
could put a
about
link, right?
education,
Could we put a link to them?
Yeah, I'll get you the logo. It's all about education, and they're good people, and that's it. That's the running deal. Surround yourself with good. That's this podcast. Surround yourself with good people.
That's it.
You have some fun. Every once in a while, we do say a bad word, but we don't mean it in hate or anger or anything. It's just what happens when I always say when I talk wrestling, I cuss. It's just a built-in. It's my vice. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't stay out. I don't do things anymore. But when I talk wrestling, I cuss.
Yeah,
It'd be even as simple as SHIT, you know what I mean? But I was cussing Lacey because she talked about wrestling tonight. I said, no, I can't help it. I don't know what it is.
And that's one thing I do get a lot of feedback from our show is that we don't bury people.
Yeah,
There's so much. And I listen to podcasts. I'm not going to say which ones because it's irrelevant. But, I mean, there's 12 wrestling podcasts out there. You could pick the 3 and listen to them, sure. But so much of them is just burying people.
Yeah.
I hate it. I think it's stupid. Speaking of burying people, I did have one question for you. I wasn't going to bring it up, but it came up in like 3 different podcasts, and it was about you. Like, kind of. It was. So I was like, I might as well ask Bill's take on this.
Go ahead and ask me. I'll do my best to be honest.
So at first I heard it. Arn Anderson brought it up, and I got brought up on a couple other shows, where I guess you were on a plane. Disco was ribbing you, like pretty hardcore, and then he slapped him. But this is like, I've heard this 3 times
We were
now.
on the road for probably what seemed like 18 weeks. We're coming back from overseas, and we're coming back because now we're shooting more Universal Studios stuff. And Disco never shuts up. Well, Disco was on a thing about how Hugh Morris was going home and how the Morris babies love Uncle Disco and all this other stuff, and Arn was just had enough. And just shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Are you kidding me? Hugh's babies love me, and I'm Uncle Disco to them. He goes, I'm telling you right now. And Arn is a protector of mine. So when somebody says my name, Arn instantly wants to know why they're talking about me. Like it's one of those
Are
things.
you guys still close?
Oh yeah, Arn can say whatever he wants about me, but anybody else is gonna get.
That's awesome.
So Disco wouldn't shut up. He said, "Disco, I'm warning you. I'm gonna bet." And Disco kept going on and on. He says, "Hugh Morris's baby's up and crack." And and we were in one of the buses used to take you to the rental cars. Open-handed him right then and there, and I about peed myself. It was everybody else was like, "Hit him again!" And it was, but then that was Arn. Arn was just like real quick. He warned him. He wouldn't shut up. He caught the backhand, dropped him. He shut up. We sat there. We went and got our rental cars. We moved on
Wow.
until Disco did it again. I'll tell you a quick Arn Anderson story.
I would love it.
One of my favorite, and I can tell it because it doesn't hurt anybody. I think we were in Denver. Excuse me. I believe we were in Denver, and it was after a show. And usually the boys try to get together in the hotel bar because the hotels were very good about shutting the bar down. We go get a cold drink, something late night to eat because usually room service was over. So you keep the kitchen open for us. Go grab a cold beer before we go to bed. So this lady was on a bar stool. All the guys were in there, and there were still patrons in there too, which was fine, but they left it open for us, the kitchen. The lady fell off the bar stool. Now, I don't know if she was so drunk she fell off. Whatever the case was, and she was a big lady. She was on the bar stool, and she went from the bar stool straight to the floor. Kaboom! You couldn't miss it. If you're on the other side of the bar, you heard the thing. All you see is Arn Anderson jump off his bar stool and start putting the boots to the lady because she was on the ground. And he starts kicking her, putting the boots to her, And we're all dying now because he's putting the boots to her. And he gets back in the bar stool and he sits there and finishes his beer.
Wow.
And all the wrestlers go back to doing what they were doing. Well, it's old habit. Somebody hits
Like
the
instinct.
Ground, you put the boots to him. And so the next day, you had to ask. And he looked around. He goes, "Were you guys at the bar last night?" I couldn't stop. I couldn't even say nothing to you because I couldn't stop laughing.
It's
amazing. Instant instinct. But the fact that like Arn has that switch and everything about him is wrestling. He put the boots to that lady, and I cried. Yeah, that's a true story. He took Disco and popped him. Shut up. He can only be told to shut up so many times.
That's true.
He got duct taped to a turnstile at Disney one time. Naked.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Naked?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the Steiners told him to shut up, and he wouldn't shut up, and then duct taped him.
That's amazing.
Yeah, these things happen.
You see, it's so weird because it was like from my side, you can never tell if it's a work or not. If he's just like a character.
The guy's so intelligent.
He seems like
it. And he's a fan of the business. He just wouldn't stop. Like I felt like he always felt like he had to keep getting that heat to be recognized, because he could work too.
Yeah, he
when
was
he
a great
wanted
worker.
to. He was a good worker. He was a good-looking kid, and he was smart, but he just couldn't not be goofy. So he always found himself in, and I think that was the problem. Like he was only going to go so far because people thought of him as goofy.
Yeah.
So, but he's a good guy. I like him. I liked him then.
Yeah, 'cause like we say, you don't have beef with anybody now. So
man, if I got beef with you, someone got to tell me what it is, and, and then I'll go, oh yeah,
and then find the time to give you to have beef with them.
And maybe I'll have to go, well, yeah, I guess I do. I should hate you then. Sorry, dude. I didn't think of it that way.
Oh man.
Now, ladies and gentlemen,
all right,
for our magic segment of tonight.
The Out of Control Magic Theater Comedy.
The Out of Control Magic Comedy and a hybrid pizza salad and all the fruit punch you can drink. And
fruit punch you can drink. You're going to shut down
If you come to
Wonderworks.
my show,
Everybody's
okay,
coming.
so here it is. Here's the reality of it. Yeah, go see Jimmy. He does magic. The food's okay.
He's pretty good.
He's all right. He makes you laugh. He always takes a picture with someone's phone. And it's at Wonderworks.
That's how we.
That's a shameless plug.
That's a great plug for this show. Hey, it's slowed down enough that you don't have to rewind it.
Yeah, you can listen to it on normal.
Go see Jimmy at Wonderworks.
How's he do it? So that was a great night, guys. I really enjoyed this. Fantastic.
I love what he says. Fantastic.
And don't forget, don't forget our what is it?
Patreon.
But don't forget,
we're still building content for that though. So
don't forget, we're still building content on Patreon.
But you can donate now.
Donate now, and if you get a magnet, put it on something metal.
Or plastic, but you'd have to tape it at that point.
Everybody love everybody, and if you can't be safe, be careful. This is Jimmy Rook for the Magic Through Wrestling saying, we got 2 words for you.
Safe sex.
Whoa.
That's a little racy for the show. Sorry to our listeners.
Hashtag is, did it without you.
That's right. He's going to kill us on the next show. And everybody, if Jimmy doesn't come back next week, that means his magic trick of not showing up tonight went terribly right or terribly wrong.
He couldn't find the bobby pin, and he's still in the glass tank somewhere with water.
That's like.
And if one of us isn't here, it's because he got out and we got in trouble.
That's right. And he put us in the glass with the
But
bobby
for now,
pin.
it's hashtag did it without you.
That's right. Everybody, have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. Jimmy will be back next week. We'll see you then. Audio Vaughn, do you have anything to say?
See ya.
Audio Vaughn's on.
That's it.
He's got timing.
Yeah, he does. That's a good cue to get us out of here.
He'd be the new Jimmy Rook.
Yeah, it's way better than Jimmy Rook.